I love Sailor Moon. It's my favorite nostalgia watch of all time, easily hands down. The designs are so cute. I used to literally trick my father into renting it for me because he was slightly homophobic and didn't want me watching it, but I convinced him that it was in the same universe as Dragon Ball Z because they were both anime and he could not tell the difference. I think this show is so great and so influential on me. And when I've heard about Toonami Rewind, which is a broadcasting block on Cartoon Network, where they're going to re-air the anime at 5 p.m. That's happening today. Yes, today. I actually planned for this once. So if you have cable, definitely go watch it because it's going to be, one, the uncensored dub for the first time on American broadcasting ever, which is just very exciting. And if this block does well, eventually we might actually get the later seasons of Sailor Moon, which never aired in America, and that would warm my heart, clear my skin, and cure my depression. Let's make it happen. Anyway, so to celebrate, I am doing a redesign challenge. How would I reboot Sailor Moon? Is it possible? So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the speed draw. All right, so when I decided to redesign these characters, the first thing that I had to kind of grapple with is how old to make them, because in the original anime, they were 14 years old, I think, and middle school students, and I feel that that's a little too young for the tones of the series, and plus they never really looked like middle schoolers to me, so I decided to set them in high school and age them up a little bit. So I imagine that Usagi and everyone is about 16 years old. I feel like that's a very stereotypical shoujo or anime age to have your protagonist. And as you can see, I've sort of dived right into her redesign. And the biggest difference for Usagi is that I wanted to focus more on her as a gamer. So in the original anime, I think one of the charming things about Usagi as a protagonist is that she's kind of, not good at anything. She's not the smartest. She's not the most athletic. She has a lot of, difficulty making good grades, but she loves video games. And I feel like that is something very relatable and still translates well to our modern day sensibilities. Like, video games have never been any bigger. So I gave her gamer girl headphones, with the built-in microphone. So if she plays with friends online, she can talk to them with it, and a parody Switch that she's currently playing right now. And I made her expression very frustrated. Like, maybe she's just concentrating on winning the current level that she's on. And her design is still reminiscent of the schoolgirl outfit that she's depicted in the original series, but I sort of just made it more modern. I don't know, I made it all this sort of same blue tone with some pinks on it. And yeah, I don't know, I just made it a little more contemporary in terms of fashion. And I also feel like I made her look a little more gangly. That just tends to happen whenever I draw Usagi. She is 16, which is older than her being 14, but I don't want her looking like an adult. I very much want her to look like a teenager. So now you can see I've started drawing Ami, who was my favorite character growing up. I think I liked her the best because she was very quiet and mysterious and smart, and I really liked those attributes because I was the opposite. I was very loud and obnoxious, and, I felt like my life would be a little easier if I was more like her. So, yeah, I didn't change her personality very much at all, and in terms of aesthetics, I think the biggest change that I made is I made her slightly shorter than all the other girls, but you can't really tell on account that everybody's sitting down and in different parts of the illustration, but I like to imagine that if she was standing, she would be the shortest of the group, and I also made her a little bit chubbier, just so we had a more diversity of body types. And I absolutely love the outfit I put her in. I feel like it looks so girly, and I love the frills on it, and I imagine that she maybe wears some baggier clothes because it just makes her more comfortable. And for a while, I didn't quite know what was wrong with it, but I ended up adding way later on in the video just sort of a collar, like she's wearing a button-up shirt underneath this sort of fun sweater, because I just felt like it made her look more studious. And I'm really enjoying the sort of color story going on right now with each of them, because another great thing about the anime is that unlike, Scooby-Doo, where everyone's always wearing the same outfit over and over again. I think the biggest reason I was so captivated with Sailor Moon, besides the colors and the fact that, you know, it was all this girl power, it was the fact that the girls change outfits. And as a little gay boy, that's exhilarating because it's like watching someone else play Barbie. It's just a great experience overall. But back on topic, you can see that I'm working on Rei right now. And the core three girls really are the same. Like, I wouldn't change their personalities much at all. And you would be probably surprised to hear that Rei in the anime versus the manga is actually a very different character. Rei in the manga really is a lot more like Ami. Like, she's very quiet, and because she works at this shrine, you know, I think she's more respectable and she's not hot-headed or temperamental. But I feel like the choice to make her angry, you know, one, fits in with her fire abilities, but two, it just really adds a nice friction to the group, which otherwise would be way too easygoing. Like, I feel like having this foil for Usagi is so important. Yeah, I drew her without her shoes on. I imagine that she like took them off, and I have her reading, you know, a comic book because Rei really loves comics. I went through the wiki for each girl just to like look at their hobbies. Naoko Takeuchi was really good at giving us fun facts about each of the girls. She made sure that we knew their blood types, their birthdays, their star signs, their favorite hobbies, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Just anything that a modern day fandom would want to headcanon or know about their favorite characters. She included that for us so we don't have to make it up. And there is this universal thing to look to. And I always appreciated that a lot. The outfit that I chose for Rei is literally an outfit that she actually wears in the original anime. That was another thing. I didn't want to update the aesthetics too much. I feel like there was something about the limited color palettes and lack of texture that made the 90s fashion of the original anime look so great. I wanted to harken back to that aesthetic with just some slight tweaks. So if it's not broke, don't fix it. I added the collar onto Ami's shirt, and now we're about to go down as I begin drawing Mako's redesign. So Mako is the tomboy of the group, but she does have a lot of more femme outfits in the original. I decided to kind of lean into more of a granola girl aesthetic for her. I wanted to give her a beanie and, you know, sort of like she's ready to take a hike at any moment. I imagine that she's more active than the other girls, and I gave her a little prop because I began to realize I was just giving everyone something to do. And so for her, I have this like duffel bag that has her karate outfit inside of it. Yeah, just either going to or coming from practice. And the reason why I placed her on the ground and sort of looking up with this far look in her eyes is that for my redesign and reboot of Sailor Moon, I would treat Mako's character actually very differently. So what we know about Mako is that her parents died in a plane crash, but this isn't really delved into a lot in the original show. I would focus on that a lot more. When I was doing research for this video, I found out about the real-life plane crash of Japan Airlines Flight 123, which happened at a time where Naoko probably would have been aware of this tragic event, and everyone on board died. I believe it still holds the record for most casualties on a passenger flight, but there were 2 survivors, and they were both children. So I would make Mako one of those children that survived this crash, and then we would get to explore the psychology of someone who lived through this tragic event that took her parents away from her, because she would obviously have PTSD, and then, like I said, a fear of heights, maybe claustrophobia, but also survivor's guilt. Like, how come I lived through this horrific event that killed so many other people? I just feel like this would really set her apart from the core 3 girls who have very much a normal high school experience. And I would have the rumors of her beating up a kid at her old school be true. Maybe she was doing that to defend someone else or as a way to like channel her aggression, but it was just a negative way of doing so. I just think it's a way to really texture and layer Mako's character very interestingly. And also that's why I drew her looking away from the other characters. In composition and illustration, every little decision can have a meaning behind it. So just something as simple as she's turned away from the rest of the group gives us an insight on how she might be feeling on the inside. Perhaps at recess, other kids made fun of her and called her a jinx, saying that death follows her wherever she goes. That's a lot for a little child's brain. Now I'm just finishing up the duffel bag, and I'm actually going to draw the karate gi on the inside. And the last design element I do is give her one of those pins that you get on your first time riding an airplane as a kid, like a junior pilot pin. And I imagine that maybe it's the last thing her parents gave her before she went up in the air. So it's like the spirit of her parents always with her, but also at the same time, this tragic reminder. And she just always wears it, no matter what outfit that she has. And so now we're going to go up here and talk about our last of the Sailor Genshi, the Sailor Scouts. Minako, aka Sailor Venus, is the last design to round out the group, and she was the one who I took the most liberties with on account that her and Usagi are virtually identical, and even as a kid that bugged me. But from a modern day standard, just the idea of having two blondes in the same magical girl group is crazy. So I knew I wanted her hair to be more of a strawberry blonde and more ginger, but I also made the decision to make her biracial just so we could have even broader spectrum of, skin color representation. And so I liked the idea of her being biracial and getting to play with, she has a darker skin and perhaps a more wavy hair texture, but still keeping that iconic bow and fashion sense so that she still very much appears to be Minako. I wanted the feel of the character to remain the same, and I explore her still being blonde early on, but like I said, just two blondes in the same group, that's nuts. So I end up going with a more strawberry color. I'm doing the inks right now. Why am I talking about color? But yeah, just so you know. And then I make a point to give her some roots. That way you can still see, oh, this isn't her natural hair color. And that tells us a lot about her personality. Like, this is the kind of girl who's very much willing to do what it takes to, express her femininity in a way that she wants to, which is, dyeing her hair, which also shows she has a lot of discipline, to keep up that color. And speaking of discipline, that's a good segue into talking about Minako as a character. She is so fascinating, and there are aspects, now we're working on the background, but I'm just going to keep talking about Sailor Venus, my girl. The fact that Sailor V has been an active superhero in this world and even has a video game based off of her before Sailor Moon comes on the scene is wild. And I feel like it isn't expressed enough in the actual story. So I very much view her as like a lone wolf type. She is elevated above the other girls because I like the idea of her thinking, well, one, I have to do everything on my own, but two, she has more experience than the other girls. She's been doing this alone for an entire year. So maybe she thinks that she is a little bit better than them. And maybe sometimes, there can be episodes where she has to learn that, oh, just because someone is new doesn't mean that their ideas aren't bad. But also the inner squad, Mars, Mercury, and Moon, they all have to realize, oh, sometimes we don't know as well, and we need to actually listen to Minako because she's been doing this the longest. And also a lone wolf, like, she feels like she has to be this like big sister. She has to take care of everyone, and she carries too much burden. That's just such an interesting trope to explore that I want to see happen. So I have her facing the group because she very much wants to be a part of the superhero team, but she's looking away and towards the sky. And eventually I'm going to add, like, the bat signal. I do sort of a Sailor V signal, which has the V and the S that's stylized and her iconic glasses. Yeah, because no one knows who Sailor Moon is, really, but everyone knows Sailor V. Anyway, so that's my tangent on that. Now we're still doing the background. I just wanted to flesh out the most beautiful shoujo Sailor Moon style background possible. That's so funny. Now we're doing her roots and her hair and making it more ginger. The minute I start talking about the background is the minute, yes, now you can see that's the hair color I end up going with. I think it looks great, especially compared to all of the other hair colors happening in the group. And I love how I did her roots. Yes, and so back to the background, I do these pink cherry blossoms. It's stylized, it's kind of giving Steven Universe a little bit with how abstract the skyscrapers are in the background. And I think with practice, I'll be able to do more of a Sailor Moon watercolor design. But yeah, there's a lot of experimentation happening with this background. I really wanted to render the absolute crap out of this playground, because Japan has all of these super cool, very organic looking playground equipment that we just don't have in America. And as soon as I saw images of them on Pinterest, I was like, oh, baby, I have to do the octopus playset. It's just so cool. And so I did. And I love how I rendered it because, yeah, it's just getting outside of my comfort zone so that I can keep leveling up my game to do better and better backgrounds. And yeah, I love this pink moment. I don't end up going with it because I felt like it flattened the image too much. But yes, it's a very difficult aesthetic trying to mimic 90s watercolor in Procreate. Oh, blinking warning, if you have photo light sensitivity, as always, oh golly, be careful when you watch my videos. But here I'm just adding sparkles, and we're just gonna be doing the most with adjustment layers from this point out. Yeah, I love these clouds. I am really talented. Thank you all for supporting my channel as normal. And yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think of each of the 5 inner girls. Like, what are your opinions on this reboot? And also just like, what are your thoughts on the Sailor Moon fandom? Like, were you ever in it? Have you noticed that it's sort of like a merchandise fandom where people love buying things with these girls on t-shirts, but there's not a lot of fan fiction or like dialogue compared to other fandoms? Why do you think that is? I have no idea. I'm hoping that that changes and that this Toonami block sort of revitalizes the fandom, though I doubt that's gonna happen. But put out the energy you want to receive in the world. And so now I'm just adding the shadows onto both the background and the actual octopus. There's a whole bunch of like orange bushes in the background that are sort of fighting with the red orangeness of the playground in the foreground. So eventually I make all of those green because I just want the maximum amount of separation that's possible. Yes. So I explored making them purple, but I felt like green was sort of the best compromise. And now I'm just sort of going in and just trying to get rid of all of the oranges that's, receding in the background. I had a little bit of a vignette just to soften out the edges a little bit. And now we're just still working with shadows. And this is the part where I get to talk about the lovely members of my Patreon. So if you like what I do and you want to support the channel, there's a link down below to where you can follow me on Patreon. And once you're inside, you can make requests for background characters to appear in my videos. So I don't have the list in front of me, but these are all characters that they recommended that I just put in to sort of, round out the feel of the background. The most recognizable ones are going to be certain cast members from Dungeon Meshi that I explain being in this world, that they're going towards like a comic convention. So I have like Laos, who I'm drawing now. Is that how you pronounce his name? He is wearing one of those lanyards with the little, what do you call it? The thing that you have to wear at a con so that you're allowed to go inside the buildings. His press badge? No, that's not it. Comment down below if you know what that word is. And now I'm drawing Chilchuck. And then, the last person I draw is the dwarf. I literally render everyone else first. But yeah, I like the idea of Chilchuck being to the nines in his sort of cosplay. And then Laos being sort of just in a t-shirt and cargo shorts, like just here to support his friend. I found that very endearing and very real if you've ever gone to a con. And it sort of explained why there were several different anime characters all in one place. And for the colors, I just did everyone a solid purple with a little bit of shadows. That's a very big motif that you'll see in Sailor Moon and other anime. Why color everyone when you can just sort of do a block color and it's a lot easier? Yeah. I fidget with this face a lot. Yeah, I'm drawing the t-shirt and the cargo shorts, which I just think is so funny. It's just such an ordinary dude outfit. I don't know. It gives me life. Yeah, and there's that purple that I was talking about. And really, y'all, Patreon is the bread and butter of my channel. If you want to see more videos like this, truly, they are the ones who support me the most directly. I do make some money from ads, but yeah. Oh, here I'm finally doing the stack of comic books and her backpack. I almost completely forgot about that. And now I'm finishing up the illustration with just some spotlights and the Sailor V signal, which I think is so cute. And then here it is, that dwarf guy, who's also from Dungeon Meshi, which is a show I love, but I'm behind. I'm only on episode 6, 5. Like, I haven't even gotten to them saving Laos's sister yet. Like, she's still in the belly of the dragon. But anyway, this is pretty much the finished illustration. Wow, I adore how it came out. I think the highlights on the playground equipment is my favorite part. Besides the girls themselves, I think the designs work really well, and I'm very proud of myself. So let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite of my redesigns, any headcanons you have, and of course, any of the questions that I asked while I was rambling. Yeah, as always, my name is Nathan. You can support me on Patreon down below. And for just like $4 a month, you can have your name in the end credits. And speaking of end credits, here they are now. Special thanks to Anna Sophia Boyd, Axelius the Great, Bodhi, Blue Uwu, Kay Clark, Christopher, Dabadudu, Dax Quinn, Aaron Martin, Emoe, Gay Jarris, Jay Johar, JD Boy 2000, Johan, Kitsune Chibiko, Lucky Paradox, Melon, Mild Mothman, Mistake, Native Runner, Orion Amastasia, Pinecone, Potion Cellar Door, Rin, Scorching Ray, Sir Camelot, Smalls the Sax Jammer, Shenanigans, Tad the Turtle, Tarthalinor, The Real Michael, Thumper Daytime, Thony, Tortilla Chips, Tuesdays Anyways, Tundra Katie Bean, and Tuppence Pies. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Nathan, and I'll upload a new video real soon. Bye!